Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we appreciate you being here because we are going to be talking through every single Big Ten team as we do. We do have our top 25 or top 25 reevaluations from the post spring and our playoff predictions in this episode. Me and Zach Guggenheim breaking it down, talking through every scenario with you. If you are listening on YouTube, please do hit that like and subscribe button. Definitely helps us out. If you are with us on podcast platform, give us a 5-star rating review. That helps us as well. You can catch us on YouTube at 9 p.m. on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights. We're going to be adding Saturday nights after the Big Ten games to that for the power rankings as well during the season. And you'll obviously, be getting much more content and stuff like that then as well. Become a member, subscribe to our basketball channel, and you can also get some merch down below as well. Now, to bring in the guy who hasn't signed with the Beats by Dre yet, he hasn't heard from him. We'll see how long it takes him. Zach Guggenheim.
Listen, I may not have beats, but every time that intro music plays, I just start dancing. It's like, you're talking about breaking it down. I was like ready to break it down here. Let's go. No, we're going to talk about football. We're not going to dance.
You don't want to break it down on the podcast?
I might want to, but I feel like most people watching are probably like, the little shoulder shimmy is fine, but like, that's about it. Like, just stop after that.
Saying that's all we needed. Like, Zach, that was enough.
Yeah, get off the dance floor.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, we have a lot to get to in this episode. We're going to reevaluate our top 25. That'll be fun to do, and then get to our playoff predictions. Now, I do want to say I did not do the playoff predictions as just like my top 25 because I think there's schedules and stuff like that need to be considered as well. And honestly, Zach, I'm biased. Did you know that? I'm biased.
Shock.
Yeah. We'll talk about it when we get to my playoff prediction, but I just think the hype for Texas is way too much this year.
Oh.
I almost left him out of my playoffs.
No.
I almost did. I didn't. But
wow.
I don't have him as a conference champion. I don't even have him in the top 2 of the SEC this season.
They do. Everybody ripped him for having a weak schedule a year ago, and they did, although not to their own, like it wasn't their fault. Like they tried to schedule Michigan, but they got an easy SEC slate, and then Michigan wasn't good until like the last 3 games of the season.
Yeah. Well, I don't get this hype for Steve Sarkisian. I mean, don't get me wrong, like he's not a bad coach or anything like that, but I'm seeing people rank him above Ryan Day and Dabo Sweeney.
Well, that's just stupid.
It's like you're obviously just trying to get clicks by doing that. It's obviously not true. Steve Sarkisian. I mean, even Texas fans, I'll see in their replies being like, "Yeah, that's crazy." It's like they are literally the fans of this guy, and they are still saying it's crazy. The man is just James Franklin with one more Alabama win. That's all he is,
Which we like James Franklin.
Right. So, I'm not saying anything bad about James Franklin. I'm just saying he's not better than Ryan Day and Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah. Sark, would you say Sark is a top 8 coach in college football?
I believe when we did our rankings of coaches, I believe I had him number 6.
Yeah.
I believe I had it Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, either one at number 1, followed by Dabo Sweeney, and then Marcus Freeman, Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, James Franklin.
Yeah. Texas schedule is brutal. At Georgia, at Florida, the Red River rivalry, which is a neutral site game, at Ohio State. I mean, it's like it is not for the faint of heart. It's a hard schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean, you do have like Kentucky and Mississippi State on there. Those are both road games, but still, if you want to play one of those teams, you'd rather play them on the road to take up your other road games. They are better than some SEC teams. They do have 5 road games on there. Some SEC teams only have 4. And then they catch Texas A&M there at the end of the season. We'll see how good Texas A&M is. I don't get the hype for him. I want to see Marcel Reed, again this year before I get too excited about him. But
yeah. You didn't mention the potential national champion Vanderbilt Commodores. They are on the schedule.
Yep. I think I listed them appropriately. They're neither a hard game or an easy game. They are Vanderbilt.
Are we sure they're not easy?
I wouldn't say they're easy. They did beat Alabama last year, so I think they're a team you have to be on the lookout for. But
Does that make Alabama more like Georgia State or sorry, I make this joke every week.
you
We're
mean
just
you
gonna
don't
keep
have
moving.
Vanderbilt in your playoff, Zach?
Playoffs? Playoffs?
All
I just
right,
hope we can win a game.
let's get to our top 25. So you want to go? Let's do this. Whoever goes first on the top 25 will go second on the playoffs. You want to go first on the top 25, or you want to go second?
Uh, I'll I'll do it. I'll take the plunge and get everybody to laugh at me.
Okay.
That's how I feel about this exercise.
All right, there you go.
So it says preseason AP poll top 25.
Oh, I'll change that. Sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, no, it's fine. I'd love to just shade the AP, have everyone shade the
Yeah.
AP poll if this comes out.
Yeah. No, I'll change that really fast. Go ahead.
I don't like top 25s because I'll be honest. I think there's, a bunch of teams that are very similar to each other. And then there's a bunch of teams where I'm like, they could be good. They may not be. And that's kind of how I felt. I think to me, the four teams that feel the most for sure is Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, and Clemson. Clemson has, I think, has a lot of depth, a lot of senior leadership. I think Cade Klubnik's the best quarterback in college football this year. I think his receiving core is either top 2 or top 3 in the country. They're going to be really dynamic. So I think people are sleeping on Clemson. I don't know if I picked them to win the national championship like Joel Klatt is, but I do think those four are separated. Penn State because of their longevity and their roster stability, Ohio State and Texas, and Clemson because of their talent level. So to me, that those four make sense. The rest, it's really hard because where is Alabama really? Where is LSU really? Where is Georgia really? Like you can point to their talent accumulation from 247 Sports, but listen, are they really better than Illinois? I don't know. Same thing with Oregon. I think Oregon could be a top 5 team. I think they could also fall back, and it's going to be hard to tell because Oregon's schedule isn't what it was a year ago. So I've got my top 10. I don't love LSU at 10, but I found it hard to put anyone above them at this point. I think there's a smattering of Big 12 teams that I like, but are no better than, I think, 14th, in my opinion, like with Iowa State, Arizona State, Kansas State. I've got Texas Tech down there at 25, and a lot of that is their talent acquisition. And then a smattering of Big 10 and SEC teams where I'm like, yeah, I think they could be good. We've talked about Oklahoma, their defensive line. We think that they're getting some receivers back from injury, so I think they could be better. I have a lot of questions, though. Brent Venables, questionable coach. I think USC at 19, I have questions about them, but we also think the potential for USC could be pretty high. Washington, Nebraska, we've talked about them. Where are they in the pecking order? I think I have Nebraska going 10-2, but I also think they could go 7-5. So I think there's just a lot of questions around a lot of these teams, if I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I mean, this is standard practice for NAP poll, right? I mean, you and I cover the Big Ten more than anything else, obviously, so we're gonna have a little bit more knowledge of the Big Ten than other stuff, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's just the way it is. But all of these teams have weaknesses, and I think right now in college football, that's one of the things that makes this the most difficult is trying to because before you could pretty much just put the top 4 or 5 teams up there. Those were probably the top 4 or 5 teams, and you just went with it, right? And
Yep.
everybody else, they'd kind of do their own thing and move around. But there's so much more parity out there in college football today than there was in years before, which
Yep.
makes it more difficult to try and do this because you have Indiana up at 12 and Michigan up at 11 there, and like SMU at 13, 14, Iowa State. Like pretty much every team from, I would say, I mean, because of what happened with Michigan last year, I would say pretty much every team from 11 down could end the season unranked.
Yep. Well, and I think you can make an argument, and I don't want to I don't want to make Illinois fans mad, but I think you can make an argument Illinois could end unranked. I think you could make an argument that Alabama could end unranked, or even LSU. I think honestly, even the top 5 teams, I think there are enough questions. Penn State's the one where I'm like, they don't have a ton of questions, and I think Clemson is probably similar. Um, but I think everybody else, there are major question marks everywhere. It's just which coaches can actually manage it better. And that, I think that's the big question. It's very different than a year ago, right? Because a year ago, I think there were 4 or 5 teams where you're like, they are the top teams in college football. And I'm not sure it's close. It was Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and Oregon. I think we're very clearly the top 5 in terms of talent. And then I think we saw that Alabama did not respond as well to Kalen DeBoer as we thought they would. And we saw that Georgia had a quarterback deficiency. And so it was really Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas. Like those were your top 3. And then Notre Dame, I thought really ascended over the year. So like I thought those are the 4 best teams in college football. Um, I think it's really wide open, which is why I think Penn State, this really is Penn State's opportunity, because every team has a hole except for them.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Penn State has some holes. Linebacker for me is something
Well, yeah,
that we
yeah,
need to prove this year. That defensive line, I don't think is, as experienced and as solid as some people think. And I just Sutton, obviously, Zane Durant are going to be huge. But, like, you have Zariah Fisher. You have talk of a true freshman in Chaz Coleman playing this season, which is not necessarily bad, but it's also not like he was like a #1 recruit in the nation or anything like that. So
right.
if
There's
they had more
questions.
depth, you would think, okay, now maybe he's just that good, and the recruiting site's just completely missed, and that's definitely possible too. But you know, standard thinking going into the season, it's like, okay, true freshman that was a 4-star, which is still good, but getting substantial snaps right away, like what's going on with the depth there? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely an interesting thought process there. All right, my top 25 got some same teams as Zach, but pretty different in some areas. So I did move Illinois down in my preseason top 25, and I moved them below Alabama and LSU. I have Illinois at 10, still in the top 10, but I did have them move down because I just continued to look at it and I thought Alabama and LSU have more talent. Illinois has more experience, and I think experience might be what wins the day. You'll see in my playoff predictions, I have Illinois in the playoffs and not LSU. So it's not necessarily me saying that LSU is going to make the playoffs and Illinois won't. It's just me saying right now, going into the season without seeing the teams play yet, probably need to give the lean to LSU and Alabama here for their talent. But as we've seen before, talent's not everything. You need to have really good coaching too. And Alabama and LSU, I don't think have super great coaching. Kalen DeBoer's done a good job, but it's mostly been on offense. He's not exactly put together the best defenses in the world. And if you want to win a national championship, you got to put together both sides of the ball, in my opinion. So starting at the
Mm-hmm.
top, I have Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, Clemson. We have our top 4s reorganized a bit, but those are pretty much the same. Notre Dame I have up there as well as you. Oregon I did put above Georgia. I didn't feel great about it. I think those 2 teams are in a little bit of similar scenarios, but like I said, trenches with Oregon, really confident about those, feel good about that. I had Indiana up at number 11. They are being far too disrespected. There were some AP voters that completely left them off their ballots. That was a stupid decision, and they should be reprimanded for that. Go punish them or something. Bad decision. You're bad. Bad decision. Well, you're not bad, but that was a bad decision. And then Texas Tech spent money in the portal, had them at 12, South Carolina 13. Lenore Sellers holds a lot there, but we need to see what happens with their wide receivers. Arizona State, Sam Levitt, they have a good receiver there. We'll see what happens with Kenny Dillingham. Then my Big Ten cluster, Washington, Michigan, USC. I don't really know where those three are going to end up at, so I kind of just clustered them all together, and we'll see what happens. And then Miami, Kansas State, SMU, Iowa State, Utah, I don't think is getting enough love. Utah, I think, needs to be in the top 25. And then Florida, and rounding out my top 25, Nebraska and Iowa together. So pretty even top 25 conference-wise here, in my opinion. I think that Nebraska and Iowa will probably fall out at some point because of the 9 conference games. Heard a guy talking about that the other day. He had no idea what he's talking about, but that's kind of standard practice for SEC people these days. His point, Zach, was, well, but the SEC, they play 9 Power 4 games just like the Big Ten. So you can't say anything about it. I was like, dude, you have no, can you not count? It's a guaranteed loss for half the conference. Your conference can still win and not have guaranteed losses. But anyway,
this is what happens when your athletic director spends too much time claiming national championships than actually educating the people in the athletic department.
Yeah. I agree. What'd Joe say? But Brian Kelly is certainly capable of ruining good players. Yeah. I kind of feel bad for Garrett Nussmeier. Kind of wish he was someplace else. He does have talent. But I feel like he's destined to throw a lot more interceptions again this season. So it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Other comments. Trojan Fight said, how far should Texas Tech drop now that they're starting running back Quentin Joyner is out for the year? I mean, yeah, I try not to drop people too much. I did drop them under Indiana. I had them at 11 in the post-spring, and then now I dropped them down to 12. I don't know. Starting running back, should they drop very far for that, Zach?
I mean, I had thought about putting Texas Tech higher. I didn't have them in my post-spring top 25 though. But I put them at 25. But I don't know. I mean, it's a big injury. Well, they weren't in my post-spring at all, and then they were they're now 25th. But I think
you said they were high in mine. Okay, sorry.
No. I do think you can drop them a little bit, but I don't know if you need to a ton. I think that the polls and like our top 25 is what we think, but it's all going to change in a week or two, right? Like it's all going to shift. So I don't know how much it should change things.
Yeah, it's a preseason. We'll see.
Yeah.
I like this comment from Dave here. He said, I bet Indiana will regress for no reason other than except I'm a 55-year-old and that's how it works. That's a funny comment. Matthew said Illinois only has 7 4-stars on their entire roster. Good luck to them. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they don't have the most talent in the world. They got a couple of 4-stars at running back. They did get a 4-star wide receiver, Trimble. Try to see where else. Yeah, they don't have any starting linebackers that are 4 stars. But I mean, that's the thing though, is like at this time though with Illinois, like you make a good point, Matthew, and I'm not trying to say that you didn't make a good point, but I do kind of look at like NFL draft projections more than recruiting stars at this point, right? When they're like juniors and seniors, I think draft projections and stuff like that is a whole lot more reliable. And you're looking at a secondary where almost every single guy is going to probably be in the NFL. Maybe not all of them drafted, but probably get to the NFL. You're looking at Gabe Yakis, who's going to be a second, third round pick, could possibly push for first round. You're looking at James Thompson Jr. that they are raving about right now. He looks to be the star of that defensive line. Could be somebody that's drafted as well. So, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, Matthew. I just think there's something for experience and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. I do think too, and I appreciate the way you talked us through why Illinois was 10th and why you dropped them a couple games. I think my pushback, minimal pushback, because I think it's valid. I do think you have to account too for the fact that they return so much of their team, and that yes, there is the possibility of a letdown. But who else in college football returns as much as they do? And they won 10 games, including a big win over South Carolina. Like I think that is something we have to consider with Illinois is almost their entire offense comes back. Most of their defense comes back. And the pieces that they did lose, they did a good job of going in the portal and getting pieces that I think are going to complement the team really well. So it's not like, I think you can look at talent, but I also think you have to look at what that roster achieved a year ago.
Yeah. I would say just look at Illinois, their roster last year to this year. Is it better or worse? In my opinion, the offense lost Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin. I guess that's not my opinion, but in my opinion, even though they lost them and Josh McCray, it's still a better offense, right? Luke Altmaier gets better, tight ends get better, offensive line gets better. They go out and they portal a bunch of dudes that are wide receivers. Some of them are going to hit. We'll see. And then they have good running backs behind Josh McCray. They've just been injured. So it's going to be huge for them to try and keep those guys healthy this season. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't come at anybody for not believing in Illinois because I understand the arguments for it. I just don't personally share them. So.
Yep.
All right. Playoff predictions. You want me to go first, Zach? Yeah, you went first to the top 25,
sure.
So I'll go first.
You go. You got it.
All right. Here's my college football playoff prediction. So I have Boise State at 12. Oh, wait, no, this is you. Or is this me?
No. I was going to say, wait a minute.
Yeah,
you revealed it. Okay,
Sorry.
I'll go first.
Oh, wait.
So, yeah,
they're both the same. I forgot to save mine. Yeah, you got to go first. Sorry.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, so I'll go through it 1 to 12. But my number one overall seed is Clemson because I think Clemson's going to be the only undefeated team in college football. I think Clemson, their schedule's manageable. I think they beat LSU in the opener because I think LSU is going to go like 8-4 again. And I think they're going to, I don't know if they're going to fire Brian Kelly. I think the greatest thing that's ever happened to the SEC is that they got Notre Dame to get rid of Brian Kelly, or Brian Kelly left Notre Dame thinking that he was getting a better program. And instead he made that program worse. And Marcus Freeman has made Notre Dame better. But I think they're going to go undefeated in the regular season, win the ACC. They're the number one seed. Number 2, I have Penn State. I think they only have one loss. I think they're one of 2 teams with one loss. And the other is Notre Dame. They're my 3 seed. My 4 seed is Texas, who I think is the SEC champ, probably with 2 losses. So hopefully you guys know where my brain space is right now. 5, I have Ohio State. I think they beat Texas, but I think they lose 2 in conference. 6, I have Alabama, who I think is going to have 2 losses, make the SEC championship game. 7, I have Oregon, who I think is going to have 2 losses. 8, I have Georgia, who again I think is going to have 2 losses. Arizona State, I have them repeating as Big 12 champs. I'll be quite honest, I thought going back and forth with K-State, Iowa State, Arizona State, Baylor, Texas Tech, I think all of them, Utah, I think they all have a shot to win. But I just am going with Arizona State at this point. I like Kenny Dillingham. 10, Illinois. I have Illinois going 10-2. I know there's some discussion in the chat about how Illinois might lose 4 games. I look at the schedule and I think they can make it work. I think if they go 10-2, they're in. And then 11, I have Nebraska because I also have Nebraska going 10-2, which I know Nebraska fans roasted me for saying that they might be the most disappointing, most likely to disappoint. That's because I had Nebraska going 10-2. And if they go 10-2 in this scenario, I think they make the playoff over a bunch of 9-3 SEC teams. Cue ESPN crying all about why their favorite SEC teams like Ole Miss, LSU, Vanderbilt, why they don't make the playoff. And then rounding it out is Boise State at 12. I had toyed with Tulane, but I do think I did pick Notre Dame to beat Tulane, or not Notre Dame, Northwestern to beat Tulane. And I think if Tulane loses to Northwestern, I don't think they have a shot at sniffing the playoff.
Interesting. All right. Before we talk about it, I'll just go ahead and get to mine. Actually, I will say one thing before I get to mine. Nebraska, their schedule, if they lose 2 games, the 2 games they probably lose on here, 2 of the 3 of Michigan, USC, at Penn State. You also have at Minnesota on there, at UCLA as well that are possible losses. So we think that 10 wins with a schedule with the 2 or 3 hardest games of Michigan at home, USC at home, at Penn State, 10 wins on that schedule gets them to the playoffs?
I think it'll be dicey.
Okay. I think they need some help. I think they need to rely on some SEC teams pulling in Alabama and losing to bad SEC teams. Because I think if there's another SEC team that's 10-2.
Well, that's in this scenario, all the other SEC teams have 3 losses or more.
Okay.
Which my hypothesis is, I think, and this has been my hypothesis in the Big Ten too, is I think because of the parity, there's going to be a lot of cannibalization. And so there's not going to be 1 or 2 teams that have all the wins, but they're going to get spread out.
Okay. I'll be honest. I don't agree about Nebraska, but I respect your take, Zach.
That's fair. I'll be honest.
You're trying to earn their good graces back. I respect that.
Well, I also feel like I need to be consistent. Like if I pick Nebraska to go 10-2, then I need to stick by my guns.
Yeah.
And so
that's like I'm mine too.
Yeah. So like I see your point, and I could very, very well see an SEC team getting in over Nebraska, even at 9-3. Like I could because of the bias in the or I think the bias in how media portrays it. But I do think we're going to see a lot of 9-3 SEC teams, and I think that's going to be if Nebraska goes 10-2, I think that's going to be a deliberating point for sure. I've also been on record. I'm not very confident that Nebraska goes 10-2, but I picked it, and I'm going to stick with it, even if I don't feel confident in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy to say Nebraska's going to go 10-2. You look at that schedule, there's definitely possibility on there for it to happen. It's just, I've believed in Nebraska before. I'm not going to believe in them again until they prove it. So, the only other thing I'll say is, I think Indiana, if they are 9-3 and they beat Illinois, I think they're in the playoffs over Nebraska at 10-2.
Really?
Yeah. I think a 9-3 Indiana makes the playoffs over a 10-2 Nebraska. If they beat Illinois. If they lose to Illinois and beat like Iowa instead, I don't think so. But if they beat Illinois and Illinois is 10-2 or 9-3, I think they get it.
My only question is, are they going to penalize them for their non-conference?
I mean, maybe. They didn't really penalize them last year. The SEC wants them to, but they didn't really penalize them last year. So.
But they went 11-1.
Yeah, but they also only played Ohio State. This year they played Oregon and Penn State, both on the road.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. All right, we'll get to mine. All right. I have Tulane as the 12th spot, getting the G5 bid. Tulane has Northwestern, Ole Miss, some out-of-conference games against larger foes. I think they're going to get credit for that in the rankings. I think Boise State could fall off a little bit this year, and you could see Tulane get it. They face off against Oregon in the first round. I think Oregon takes care of business there. Not going to be a repeat of Liberty a couple years ago, but Oregon will take care of business there. I have Miami going up against Texas, the 8-9 game there. I think Texas disappoints this season. I think they lose at least 2 games. Possibly 3, but I think they lose to Ohio State. They most likely lose to somebody in the SEC as well, and I just don't think it's a schedule with. I don't think it's going to have a schedule with enough strength to put them up in like the top 4 or anything like that with 2 losses. So I think they are probably an 8 seed with Alabama and Georgia both being over them. Speaking of Alabama, I have them as the 6 seed going up against Big 12 champs Utah. I think Utah's going to win the Big 12 this season. And I have Alabama moving on to face number 3. And I should say I had Miami beating Texas. Again, I just don't believe in Texas this season. I think Miami, Carson Beck, I think could have an opportunity here to do something, and I think they're going to have a much better defense this season with Corey Heatherman as well.
Hold on. Time out.
Yes.
I know you don't believe in Texas, but you believe in Carson Beck over Texas?
In the ACC, sure.
You believe in Miami's defense over Texas?
With Corey Heatherman, yeah.
Okay, continue.
Texas almost lost to Arizona State last year. And that was with Quinn Ewers, the 5-star quarterback. Like, not even 5-star. He was like one of the highest rated quarterbacks out there. I know he was injured, but still.
Okay.
They're going to have a really good defense this season, but yeah. I don't know. The Arch Manning hype is waning right now. Paul Feinbaum's the only one that's really still going after him. Everybody else is on the DJ Lagway train, which doesn't really shape my opinion, but I just don't think Texas is going to be as good as some people say.
I just don't. I don't know if Miami has the ability to actually to beat anyone of substance. I don't have them in my playoff. I don't believe in Carson Beck. I routinely like Miami feels like a better version of what we've been saying about Nebraska. It's like Miami's back. Not really, but that's just I respect your take. Anytime we have to give Miami props, I kind of cringe a little bit inside.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, I have Alabama beating Utah in the 6-11. And then in the 7-10, I have Illinois and Clemson. I think Clemson drops a game this season, and they get hurt for it in the rankings. But I think Clemson takes down Illinois, moves on to play Georgia. And Georgia, just like in Zach's predictions, does not win a playoff game for the 3rd year in the row. Clemson takes down Georgia. Ohio State versus Alabama. It's the 2014 rematch, the 2020 National Championship rematch. I think Ohio State gets it done here. I think Ohio State is a more complete team, although Alabama has some very strong players on the offensive line and on defense. I don't think Kalen DeBoer knows how to use the defense correctly, and I think Ohio State takes it here. Penn State against Miami. I think Penn State takes care of business there. Close game, but I think Penn State eventually pulls ahead. Oregon goes up against the number 4 seed, Notre Dame. I know a lot of people are kind of low on Notre Dame. I think that they are going to feed off of last season, make it to the national championship, and I won't say easy schedule because they do have Texas A&M and Miami on there early, but I could see Notre Dame losing one of those and then winning out the rest of the season, them getting credit for that and being in the top 4, similar to how last year they lost to Northern Illinois, and they wouldn't have been a top. No, they would have been the 5th team, I think. No, Texas was number 5, but I think a loss to Texas A&M or Miami will not look nearly as bad as a loss to Northern Illinois. However, Oregon takes them down. We have Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson in the Final 4. No SEC teams take that. SEC. Oregon takes it to Penn State, but Penn State wins it in the end. Drew Aller gets some redemption from the Big Ten championship game, and then we see a classic Ohio State-Clemson battle, number 3 versus number 7. I think Clemson gets the win here. Dabo is screaming and hollering on the sidelines. They have a good QB. Clemson's dangerous with a good QB. They are dangerous with a good QB, and I think Cade Klubnik is that guy, and Cade Klubnik leads them to the national championship. Clemson wins it all this season. Dabo gets his third national championship. Sucks. Don't like that I haven't beaten Penn State, but you know what? Paul Feinbaum has to leave the country, and I'm okay with that. Because the SEC team did not win it all.
Did I go through my who I think is going to win the game? I don't think I actually went through the bracket.
Yeah, I think you just did your rankings.
Do you want me to go through how the bracket falls too?
Sure.
So you have Clemson winning.
Yep.
Also, ironically, I think 3 of our final 4 are the same. So
yep. You have Notre Dame in the Final Four. I have Oregon in the Final Four.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll go through. So I had the 5-12 game as Ohio State, Boise State. Ohio State demolishes Boise State, which sets up Ohio State, Texas, a rematch. Because I have Texas as the 4 seed. Arizona State versus Georgia. I have Arizona State upsetting Georgia because I just don't buy Gunnar Stockton. And I think the talent level, it's still high. I just don't think it's as high as it's been. I like what Arizona State has coming back. I really believe in Kenny Dillingham, and I think they get it done with an upset win in Athens. Nebraska, Alabama. I love Nebraska. Alabama's going to win and probably win big. And then Illinois, Oregon. I think Oregon takes it over Illinois, setting up the quarterfinals, which is Ohio State, Texas, which I have Ohio State beating Texas and advancing to the semifinals. Arizona State versus Clemson. I have Clemson winning that game. Alabama, Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame avenging their loss in the 2012 national championship game. Notre Dame goes to semifinals, setting up a semifinal rematch as Penn State defeats Oregon in the quarters to advance to the semifinals, setting up Ohio State, Clemson, and Notre Dame, Penn State. I have an all Big Ten final as I think Ohio State avenges their several losses to Clemson. I think Clemson is really good. I think the talent, I think by the end of the season, I think Ohio State's going to be rolling. And I just think they have a higher ceiling than Clemson. And I think Penn State avenges their loss against Notre Dame, setting up a rematch of Ohio State versus Penn State. I had Penn State losing to Ohio State in the regular season, but I think they get it done and get revenge in the final. And James Franklin gets his first national championship and silences a bunch of haters.
I'd love to see it. I would love to see Penn State win it all. Don't think it's happening, but that would be really, really cool if it does happen. I guess I shouldn't say don't think it's happening. It sounds like I'm dismissing them. I have Clemson winning it over them, but I think that would be really, really cool for Penn State if they prove me wrong and they win the national championship.
I have a lot of Penn State friends, one of whom I told that this was my pick, and she was like, "Take that back. You've just cursed us." And I was like, no, this is what I think is going to happen.
You know, they always say, take that back. Don't do that. And then we put it on the show, and then the people from that fan base are like, wow, you don't have us win it all?
Yep.
Like, hey, you said you didn't want it. But no, I'm just joking. Having a good time there with Penn State. So I think the most pushback we're getting in the comments right now is Illinois, and that's understandable. Like I said, I get people not having as much faith in Illinois as we do. I think that for me nowadays in college football, experience and bringing players back that are on your team is very, very important. I recognize that last year there were some other teams in the top, of returning production and stuff like that. I would just say those coaches of those teams are not Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema has shown how good of a coach he is in the Big Ten when he was at Wisconsin. He's shown how good of a coach he is to bring Illinois back to winning 10 games doing that. And I think that he kept a lot of those players, obviously. And, losing Josh McCray sucks. Losing Pat Bryant sucks. I get it. But at the same time, I just think you have to look at this Illinois team. They have the recipe to be able to win some more games this season. Their biggest thing to me is not going to be some of these big games because I think they're going to pull out some of them close. Washington, Ohio State, Indiana, USC is on there as well. I think they're going to win at least 2 of those 4. You can pick whatever 2 you think that is, but I think win at least 2 of those 4. For me, the biggest thing is they have to step on the neck of these lesser teams. When they get ahead, they have to keep going, destroy them, give them no shot. You cannot have a repeat of Purdue. You cannot have a repeat of Rutgers. Get ahead, step on their throat, and do not let them come back. Don't actually step on their throat. That would be graphic, but you get what I'm saying. So,
yeah.
All right. Zach, anything else on our playoff predictions?
No, I will say this. I think this is harder than it has been in a while because I just think there's a lot. I think there are teams that you could put in there. So like Florida is a trendy pick right now. Their schedule is insane. It is so bad. Like it's Wisconsin level bad.
I thought you meant bad as in like it's not hard, and I was like, Zach, I think it's pretty hard, but okay.
No. It's insane. Like it's insanely hard.
Okay.
Like insane degree of difficulty, and I know we've joked about Josh Pate saying they're the best 7-5 team. They should make the play, but like it's going to be a miracle.
Said that they should make the playoffs. That they're 8-4,
which I don't agree with.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But I can understand the comment because the schedule is insane. And I think if Wisconsin went 8-4, I think we might throw a ticker tape parade for them because it's an insanely hard schedule. So I think the schedule imbalance is real. And I think the variability and parity is real. So I think, we mentioned I have Nebraska in there. I really do see a pathway for Indiana to get in there. I do see a pathway for other SEC teams to get in there. I see a pathway for Miami or an SMU or another Big 12 team. I think you can see. I think it's very possible you might see more chaos than even a year ago, and there was chaos a year ago. I think we might see more of it this year with how much parity I think there's going to be.
You think a 9-3 team gets in this year?
Well, in my projections, no. But I would not be surprised.
I think a 9-3 team gets in.
Yeah.
I think Utah's 9-3.
Well, that's different. Yeah. That's different though, because that's a conference champ.
Okay.
Do you think an at-large 9-3 team gets in?
So I don't think Illinois could get in at 9-3, but I could see Michigan getting in at 9-3, even with that pretty weak schedule. They beat Oklahoma early and lose to Nebraska, USC, and Michigan State, but then they bookend that with beating Ohio State. I think those would be 2 impressive enough wins.
Yeah. Especially going on the road to Oklahoma, and if Oklahoma is 8-4 or better.
Yeah. I think the hard part with that is was Oklahoma, they weren't ranked in the coaches poll, and they were barely in the top 20 in the AP poll. So
they were ranked in both.
I thought they weren't ranked in the coaches poll.
No,
maybe it was somebody else.
Let me look real quick.
But regardless, I think 9-3 team has a chance of getting in, but I think it's probably more likely a 9-3 team is a Big 12 champ or something like that.
Yeah. Oh no, you were right. Oklahoma was 26th. Sorry.
In the coaches poll? Okay.
Yeah. They're 18th in the AP poll, and they were the first team in others receiving votes.
Yeah. So Terry says the Indiana hate continues. Just change the name to anti-IU.
Listen. If we had a first four out, I think Indiana would probably be both of our first four out. So we're
And
big. We're still big believers in Indiana.
Terry, I don't know if you missed it, but I said Indiana might make it in at 9-3 over a 10-2 Illinois.
This is a great comment.
Joe says, I hope 9-3 Indiana gets in, and Paul Feinbaum spontaneously combusts. Not only would he spontaneously combust if they go 9-3 and get in, but if they were to beat Alabama or something like that, holy cow.
Once they win the national championship,
he
after
wouldn't even wait. Yeah, he wouldn't even wait for a Big Ten team or an ACC team to win the national championship. He would just lead the country right then and there.
I honestly, what I want to see happen, and I don't think it'll happen this year, but at some point, I want to see Indiana beat 3 consecutive SEC teams in the playoff to win the national championship.
That would be fun. If an ACC team won. Not as fun as a Big Ten team. But really, I'm just for anybody winning, but a SEC team. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm saying Indiana. I want to see Indiana win 3 straight against an SEC team.
Yeah.
Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be good.
So, we got Terry back on our side. He said that would be best. Beat Alabama. There we go. See, we'll bring you back, Terry.
Yeah,
don't worry.
We're very pro Indiana. We're very pro Big Ten on this program, including Indiana.
Yeah.
And we just don't have a lot of nice things to say about Purdue right now, but we want to say nice things about Purdue, which I know now, Terry, you may not like us again, but
it's a cycle.
It's just a cycle.
Oh boy! All right. Hey, we're gonna end the episode there. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us, everybody. Oh, there we go. Zach, any final thoughts? I guess I should say. So during the season, the Monday, we're gonna try on Tuesday. We're gonna release a podcast with our top 25 updates and our playoff prediction updates. We might go live on a Monday night for that. We might incorporate that into the Sunday night live. We'll see, but that is gonna happen. You will get a podcast on Tuesday with top 25 and playoff prediction updates. I'll be here each time. If I can't be here, or if Zach can't be here, we might bring Jeff on or somebody like that to kind of walk through some stuff, but you'll get updated top 25, updated playoff predictions, stuff like that for college football as we go. So, and again, the top 25s will not always match the playoff predictions because the top 25s are not predictions. They are rankings for where teams are currently at. The playoff predictions are when you are evaluating going forward and saying this team will win, do this, do that, and the other. So, Zach, any parting thoughts?
I'm excited for the season. We're I think 10. Well, no, we're what 5 days away from week 0. 4 days away from week 0. We have real football this weekend.
Yeah. We'll get to Sunday night. We'll get to talk about Iowa State and Kansas State a little bit if we want to.
It'd be good.
Which actually could be relevant because Iowa plays Iowa State later on. So.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. So. Anyway, thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for listening on YouTube, podcast, however you listen, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time on the Big Ten Huddle. Catch us here on Thursday as Big Jeff comes in with his data and his bold predictions. Appreciate it. Have a good one.